Hey fellow gliders, welcome back. Today we're going to add a brand new layer to our gamified app, and that layer is crafting items. So no longer do our users only have to purchase items in order to add items to their inventory, but rather from different elements or materials that they purchased, they can craft brand new items. This is a gamified mechanic that works wonderfully in any sort of gamified environment. So we're going to add this to our Glide app moving forward. Let's go ahead and take a look. So before anything else, if this is the first time you're watching the gamified video series, I highly recommend you start from the beginning because this is a continuation of where we left off. You can go ahead and click right over here and that'll bring you to the very first video in this series. All right, if we're all caught up, we're actually going to start back in the data editor where we can start crafting the columns and tables necessary in order to build out this functionality. So I'm going to go to the data editor of our Glide app, and I'm going to start in our store because what we want to do is we want to allow certain items to be crafted. I've already added two brand new items to our store. One is an axe and one is a bow, and I'm planning on allowing our users to craft these items. Okay, if we wanted to, we could also hide them from the store so that these items can only be crafted, but it's okay. We'll display them in the store as well. All right, so right next to display and store, I'm going to go ahead and add a column to the right here, and I'm going to allow these items to be crafted by specifying the materials needed to be crafted. All right, so we're going to say crafting materials needed. And it's going to be a text column. And ultimately what we want is a comma-separated list of materials that are needed to craft that item. All right, I'm going to hit done here. And then from here, I'm going to go ahead and specify what materials are needed. So you see I already have a list of materials here. Some are like rock and stone and so forth. So you need to make sure that you're using the item name identically, right? So like wood, leather, iron, so forth. So for an axe, maybe it's like 2 pieces of wood and a piece of iron, right? So I could say something like wood, iron, right? And for a bow, maybe it's like the wood bow, maybe it's the leather grip and string, right? So I could say something like wood, leather, string. Right? But whatever materials you put in here, it's got to match identically to the name of your item here. Okay. All right, so here's where you can also make a choice. I know some games which allow you to craft items. It depends upon the crafting order. So sometimes if you were to do like a wood, iron, it would craft one thing. But if you were to adjust the arrangement, it would craft something differently. Like if you did wood, iron, wood, that might be like a stack of like wood and then metal and then wood. I don't know what that would be, but maybe you would craft something differently. I'm not going to go that route. I'm just going to stick to, if they put in 2 woods and an iron, it's going to craft that item every single time. It doesn't matter the order in which they're selecting their items. Ultimately, what we want also is to match whatever they are selecting. So because they might be selecting these elements in a different order, you might choose like iron, wood, wood, or wood, iron, wood. We still need it to match to this value. So what we're going to do here is we're going to normalize this by sorting it alphabetically. So we're going to be like iron, wood, wood, because that would be alphabetical. In this case, it would be leather, string, wood. That would be identical. To do that, we need to split it and then rejoin it. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to duplicate this column, and we're going to call crafting materials split. And the type will be a split text column. And we're going to split that column that we just created, this crafting materials needed. And we're going to split by the comma. All right, so now we see that those materials have been split apart. Right? Okay, next we're going to resort this alphabetically. So I'm going to duplicate this column again. Crafting materials split, we'll call this sorted. And the type is going to be a sort array. So I'm just going to search for sort, select the sort array column, and the values are going to be that crafting materials split. Okay, so now we see that our materials have been sorted alphabetically, right? But lastly, we need to reformat this so it looks like a comma-separated list of materials again, like this. So to do that, we just use a join text. So I'm going to duplicate this one last time, and we're going to say joined at the end. The type is going to be a join list, and we're going to join that crafting materials split sorted, like so. And we're going to separate it by a comma with no space. The reason why we don't want the space there is because when we're matching it with a choice selection column, the choice selection doesn't add any spaces, and we need it to match identically. We're going to get rid of that space there. Okay, so basically all we've done is we've took this value here and we've sorted it alphabetically. Now, if you wanted to skip all of this, you could by making sure that the materials that you're selecting here are always alphabetical, but it might not always be the case. So this is we're ensuring it's going to be alphabetical. All right, and that's all we need to do for the store. All right, next what we need to do is we need to build our crafting table. So we're going to add a brand new glide table here. And this is going to be a working table, meaning that we're not really using it to store information. We're just using it temporarily in order to craft that item. Okay, so this is going to be our craft, or just let's call it crafting. Okay, I always add in a row ID, especially when it's a working table. All right, and then ultimately all this table is going to be served for is by selecting items from our inventory. All right. And we need a column to house those items. I'm going to delete this name column. I'm going to add in a brand new column here called selected items. Now, this column needs to be user specific because it's possible that 4 or 5 people in our app are going to be crafting items at the same time, and we don't want them overriding each other's choices, right? So it needs to be user specific. Done. All right, so with this user-specific column, users will be selecting items from their inventory, and they'll show up here as a comma-separated list. Now, it can't just be the item name, like wood, comma, linen, because it's possible that multiple people own those same materials, and we don't want to steal from other people's inventory. So we need to relate back to that specific person's inventory, that who's ever signed in. And to do that is with the row ID of that item. All right, so I'm going to just pretend that I've selected a couple of things here. I'm going to go into my inventory. Right now I'm signed in as this user, which is this person over here. I'm going to pick a couple of these items at random. I know these are materials, so I'm going to choose these row IDs here. So I'm going to copy both these row IDs of those items in our inventory, come back to crafting and paste those in just so I can see what I'm working with. So this is the format of the item IDs when they go to select them using a choice component. But this won't help us make a relation back to that crafting column. What we need here is a comma-separated list of item names, right? So what we need to do is split this, relate it to our inventory, and then bring in the item names and then sort them just like we did in the store. So let's do that. I'm going to go ahead and split these items. I'll just call this split selected. It'll be a split text column, which I'll search for here. Split text. And it's going to be the selected items. Okay, next, I'm going to relate these back to the items in our inventory. So I'm going to say rel selected items. This is a relation column where I'm going to relate the split selected to the inventory row ID. And match multiple because there's more than one that I selected here. You see it found a couple of items here, which is great. So now that we have our relation, we need to do a lookup to the items. So we'll just call this lookup selected items. And we want the item names specifically. So we're going to look up the selected items name, like so. This gives us an array of items, but we need those items to be alphabetical order, so it matches our crafting. All right, so we just need to sort this. So we'll say sort items. Again, I'll use that sort array column, and we're going to sort our lookup. Okay, so now you see that it's in alphabetical order, but it needs to be comma separated. So the last thing here is to join the sort items. So we'll do a joined list. we're going to join the sort items. Get rid of that space. Done. Okay, so you'll see that they select items from their inventory, which are just row IDs, but ultimately what we get is the names of the item and comma separated. Cool. So we have a relation to the item, we have a relation, or we have now this value that's identical, hopefully, to something that we're trying to craft. So to verify that, now we can relate whatever this value is to our store, the crafting joined column here, right? So hopefully we're matching something. So let's go into crafting, and I'm going to create that relation. So this will be relation to crafted item. Make a relation column where I'm going to relate the joined sort items. Those are the items that I've selected from my inventory, and hopefully they match something in the store where it's being crafted. And done. We don't need to match multiple here because it's just going to be a one-to-one item that we're trying to craft. Okay, you see it didn't match anything because I don't have anything that's crafted using a leather and a stone. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of fake that I've matched something here. Or I can just purchase them. Let's do that instead too. So my inventory, what do I have? I have leather, I have stone, and I have wood. So I just need string for a bow. All right, let's buy some string. Yeah, purchase. Okay, so now I have string. Okay, let's go ahead and pretend that I've selected that. So this row ID, I'm going to add to our crafting table here, comma, paste. Okay, so now I have leather, wood, string, sorted them, leather, string, I've joined them, and that should match the bow. Ah, look at that, it found the relation because it's alphabetical and it matches exactly. All right, so now I have a bow. And ultimately what I want here is to grab this item ID because this is going to serve as our way to add that item to our inventory. And to add something to our inventory, we need to know the ID of that item. Okay, so I'm going to do a lookup for the item. We'll say crafted item ID. So we're going to do a lookup of the crafted items row ID. Done. So now I'm just thinking about what I want to display on the screen, right? I want to display maybe what the item is, picture of the item, and maybe a notification. So let's go ahead and add a couple more columns. So I'm just going to duplicate this crafted item ID, and we'll say crafted item name. So it's the name of the item, which is a bow, right? And then the image. So I'll duplicate the image, just like that. And then maybe a notification. Like, okay, you crafted a bow, right? So we'll call this notification. Make it a template column. That's how you can join values together in text. So we'll say, you just crafted a, or maybe not a, you just crafted whatever it is, exclamation point. And so the at will be the name of the item. You just crafted bow. Cool. All right. So we have our crafting. We have enough information to add it to our inventory. We have a relation to the items that we've selected, so we can actually delete those items from our inventory. And then as part of the action, we'll clear this value in order to reset ourselves for next time. All right, so our tables are complete. Let's go ahead and build out the interface. So I'm here on the My Inventory screen, and maybe we just add a button to the inventory that's where we'll go to craft. So I'm going to duplicate this floating button, and let's call this crafting. The icon can be like tools. There we go. A hammer, or a wrench and a hammer, something like that. Okay, so action, we're going to show a new screen. And that new screen is going to be our crafting screen. The title of that screen will be Craft an Item. Okay. Let's go ahead and click the button. All right, so we are on this screen. The screen is to be a details screen because we're going to do some things here. Let's trash all this. Okay, so the very first thing will be like selecting their items from their inventory. So we can do that with an inline list. Oh, no, sorry, we can do that with the choice component. So choice, and we're going to write to the selected items column. Let's give this a label of select items from your inventory. Okay. And the things that they're selecting are going to be sourced from the inventory sheet, but we don't want everybody's items. We just want our items. So we need to filter this list where the user email is the signed in user and only items that can be used for crafting. In this case, maybe materials. So where category is material. Materials. Okay. And let's make this a little bit more visual. So let's make it chips view, and let's allow selecting multiple items. And let's, yeah, I think that's good. Okay, so the values that they're selecting, again, is going to be the row ID, but we're going to display the item name like that, and let's put in the image. So now we see that we have stone, leather, wood, string. And if they have more than one string, we would just show up there, right? You could also display it this way if you wanted to, but if you have a big inventory, well, I guess you're only going to have 9 values in your inventory, so this might be fine too. Completely up to you. This is kind of nice. The images are a little bit bigger, but again, completely up to you. So now they can select things from their inventory. Then what we need here is a button that says Craft Item. So we're going to go ahead and add a button. And we'll say Craft Item. Now the action on this Craft Item button is going to be a custom action because we're doing several things. So I'm going to create a new action. And the first thing we're going to check is it a valid item that we're crafting? So I'm going to add a condition here. And we're going to see whether or not it found a match to the crafted item, this rel crafted item. So if rel crafted item is not empty, meaning it found a match, then we're going to continue on with the crafting experience. So the first thing we're going to do is give them their item. So we're going to add a new row to the inventory. The user email will be the person whoever signed in. The timestamp is going to be the date time. And the item ID is the value that they've crafted. So the crafted item ID. Okay. After it's been added to their inventory, then we're going to remove the items that were used to craft that value. So to do that, we're going to use the delete row, and Glide just made available the ability to delete multiple rows with a single button push. This is fantastic. This is why I've waited to do this video until this feature came out. So we're going to delete a row, and the rows that we're deleting are the items that we selected from our inventory. So again, you're going to see this new warning pop up that it's going to delete multiple rows from the inventory, which is fine. We want it to delete all of the items that were used to craft that item. Okay, so we're going to delete those rows after adding it, right? We don't want to delete beforehand, because if we delete the items beforehand, then all of our logic to find the crafted item will no longer be there, and it will give us an empty object. So we always want to add the item first, then delete our rows. Then we're going to go back to our inventory to see the item that we just crafted, and then we can show our notification. So we'll show the notification of the notification. You just crafted bow, right? Well, now that I'm thinking about it, it might not say you crafted bow because we deleted the rows. So we probably have to delete the rows last, which might give us kind of a weird experience. It's going to show notification. So maybe go back last. We'll show the notification, then delete the rows, and then go back. And hopefully by then, the items will be gone from inventory and we won't see them disappearing. But we might. We'll see. Now, at this point, you have to figure out what happens when it doesn't make a match, meaning that there's not an item that's craftable with the items that we selected. We could just do something safe, like showing a notification, and say something like no item available, or something like that, right? Make it a failure. And so that way they get to keep their items, right? Or maybe we're having our users take a risk by crafting, meaning it's possible that the things that they're trying to craft, they're going to consume all their materials and it may or may not result in a crafted item. So if you want to play it safe, right, you can do this. Or if you want to give your users that risk, like that lottery feeling of crafting an item, then we just do all of the same things here, but we're not going to add a row to the inventory because there's nothing to add. So in that case, we're going to delete rows, and we're going to delete the selected items, not the crafted item, but the selected items, right? Then we're going to go back a screen, and then we'll show a notification that says a failure, and we'll say no such item available to craft, or something like that. Okay, our action's going to be craft an item and save. All right, ready to test this out? Just so you see how this works, I'm going to go to the store and I'm going to buy another item here that I know won't be used for crafting as part of the things that I've configured. So let's go ahead and try to craft something from stone and iron. I haven't configured any item to craft that, so I should lose both these items, and it's going to tell me that, sorry, there's no such item. No such item available. And you see I lost my stone and my iron. Such a shame. All right, now let's try crafting something with leather, wood, and string. So leather, wood, and string. Craft item. I just crafted a bow. And look at that! I got my bow. And you see I removed those items from our inventory, so it's going to keep our sheet nice and clean and organized without miscellaneous lost rows or orphaned rows that no longer apply to our gamified app. All right, so we just finished crafting this new feature in our gamified app. You can certainly go above and beyond, like maybe on this crafting screen, giving your users a crafting guide, but we're not going to go there for this tutorial. But hopefully this gave you some insight as to how you can relate new things together and create new working tables and new screens to build out cool functionality for your end users. If you have any questions at all, feel free to leave me a comment below or reach out to me at Twitter at rpetito. And as always, thanks for watching.